Well, hello there, Foxes and Year 2 and anyone else who is joining us today for Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, Chapter 22, Along the Corridor. Well, sighed Mr. Willy Wonka. 2 naughty little children gone, 3 good little children left. I think we'd better get out of this room quickly before we lose anyone else. But Mr. Wonka, said anxiously Charlie Bucket, will Violet Beauregard ever be all right again, or will she always be a blueberry? Oh, they'll dejuice her in no time flat, declared Mr. Wonka. They'll roll her into the dejuicing machine. She'll come out just as thin as a whistle. But will she still be blue all over? Asked Charlie. Oh, she'll be purple, cried Mr. Wonka. A fine, rich purple, from head to toe. But there you are. That's what comes from chewing disgusting gum all day long. If you think gum is so disgusting, said Mike TV, then why do you make it in your factory? I do wish you wouldn't mumble, said Mr. Wonka. I can't hear a word you're saying. Come on, off we go. Hurry up, follow me. We're going into the corridors again. And so saying, Mr. Wonka scuttled across to the far end of the inventing room and went through a small secret door hidden behind a lot of pipes and stoves. The 3 remaining children, Veruca, Salt, Mike TV and Charlie Bucket, together with the 5 remaining grown-ups, followed after him. Charlie Bucket saw that they were now back in one of those long pink corridors with many other pink corridors leading out of it. Mr. Wonka was rushing along in front, turning left and right and right and left, and Grandpa Joe was saying, keep a good hold of my hand, Charlie. It would be terrible to get lost in here. Mr. Wonka was saying, no time for any more messing about. We'll never get anywhere at this rate that we've been going. And on he rushed down the endless pink corridors with his black top hat perched on the top of his head and his plum-coloured velvet coattails flying out behind him like a flag in the wind. And there you can see him racing along, Charlie Bucket and Grandpa. They passed the door in the wall. No time to go in, shouted Mr. Wonka. Press on, press on. They passed another door, then another, then another. There were doors every 20 paces or so along the corridor now, and they all had something written on them, and strange, clanking noises were coming from behind several of them, and delicious smells came wafting through the keyholes, and sometimes even little jets of coloured steam shot out from the cracks underneath. Grandpa Joe and Charlie were half running and half walking to keep up with Mr. Wonka, but they were able to read what it said on quite a few of the doors as they hurried by. Eatable marshmallow pillows, it said on one. Marshmallow pillows are terrific, shouted Mr. Wonka as he dashed by. They'll be all the rage when I get them in the shops. No time to go in, though. No time to go in. Lickable wallpaper for nurseries, it said on the next door. Lovely stuff, lickable wallpaper, cried Mr. Wonka rushing past. Don't know if that'd be a big seller at the moment, do you, Foxes? It has pictures of fruits on it. Bananas, apples, oranges, grapes, pineapples, strawberries and snozberries. Snozberries, said Mike TV. And that's a little joke there, I think, for anyone who's read the BFG. Don't interrupt, said Mr. Wonka. The wallpaper has pictures of all these fruits pinned on it, and when you lick the picture of a banana, it tastes of banana. And when you lick a strawberry, it tastes of strawberry. And when you lick a snozberry, it tastes exactly like a snozberry. But what does a snozberry taste like? You're mumbling again, said Mr. Wonka. Speak louder next time. On we go, hurry up. Hot ice creams for cold days, it said on the next door. Extremely useful in the winter, said Mr. Wonka, rushing on. Hot ice cream warms you up no end in freezing weather. I also make hot ice cubes for putting in hot drinks. Hot ice cubes make hot drinks hotter. Cows that give chocolate milk, it said on the next door. Ah, my pretty cows, cried Mr. Wonka. How I love those cows. But why can't we see them, said Veruca Salt. Why do we have to keep on rushing past all these lovely rooms? We shall stop in time, called out Mr. Wonka. Don't be so madly impatient. Fizzy lifting drinks, it said on the next door. Oh, these are fabulous, said Mr. Wonka. They fill you with bubbles, and the bubbles are full of a special kind of gas, and this gas is so terrifically lifting that it lifts you right off the ground, just like a balloon, and up you go until your head hits the ceiling, and there you will stay. How'd you come down again? Asked little Charlie. Well, you do a burp, of course, said Mr. Wonka. You do a great big long rude burp, and up comes the gas and down comes you. But don't drink it outdoors. There's no knowing how high up you'll be carried if you do that. I gave some to an old Oompa Loompa once out the backyard. He went up and disappeared out of sight. It was so very sad. Never saw him again. He should have burped, Charlie said. Well, of course he should have burped, said Mr. Wonka. I stood there shouting, burp, you silly ass, burp, or you'll never come down again. But he didn't, or couldn't, or wouldn't. I don't know which. Maybe he was too polite. He must be on the moon by now. On the next door it said, square sweets that look round. Wait, cried Mr. Wonka, skidding suddenly to a halt. I am very proud of my square sweets that look round. Let's take a peek. And chapter 23. Square sweets that look round. Everybody stopped and crowded to the door. The top half of the door was made of glass, and Grandpa Joe lifted Charlie up so he could get a better view. Looking in, Charlie saw a long table, and on the table there were rows and rows of small white square-shaped sweets. The sweets looked very much like squared sugar lumps, except that each of them had a funny little pink face painted on one side. At the end of the table, a number of Oompa Loompas were busily painting more faces on more sweets. There you are, cried Mr. Wonka. Square sweets that look round. They don't look round to me, said Mike TV. They look square, said Veruca Salt. They look completely square. But they are square, said Mr. Wonka. I never said they weren't. You said they were round, said Veruca Salt. I never said anything of the sort, said Mr. Wonka. I said they looked round. But they don't look round, said Veruca Salt. They look square. They look round, insisted Mr. Wonka. They most certainly do not look round, cried Veruca Salt. Veruca, darling, said Mrs. Salt, paying no attention to Mr. Wonka. He's lying to you. My dear old fish, said Mr. Wonka. Go and boil your head. How dare you speak to me like that, shouted Mrs. Salt. Oh, do shut up, said Mr. Wonka. Now watch this. He took a key from his pocket and unlocked the door and flung it open, and suddenly, at the sound of the door opening, all the rows of the little square sweets looked round quickly to see who was coming in. Their tiny little faces actually turned towards the door and stared at Mr. Wonka. You can see them all. Square sweets that look round. There you are, he said triumphantly. They are looking round. There's no argument about it. They are square sweets that look round. By God, he's right, said Grandpa Joe. Come on, said Mr. Wonka, starting off down the corridor again. On we go. We mustn't dawdle. Butterscotch and Buttergin, it said on the next door they passed. Now that sounds a bit more interesting, said Mr. Salt, Veruca's father. Glorious stuff, said Mr. Wonka. The Oompa Loompas all adore it, makes them tiddly. Listen, you can hear them in now, whooping it up. Shrieks of laughter and snatches of singing could be heard coming through the closed door. They're drunk as lords, said Mr. Wonka. They're drinking butterscotch and soda. They like them that best of all. Butter gin and tonic is also very popular. Follow me, please. We really mustn't keep stopping like this. He turned left. He turned right. They came to a long flight of stairs. Mr. Wonka slid down the banisters. The three children did the same. Mrs. TV and Mrs. TV, Miss Salt and Mrs. TV, the only women now left in the party, were getting very out of breath. Mrs. Salt was a great big fat creature with short legs, and she was blowing like a rhinoceros. This way, cried Mr. Wonka, turning left at the bottom of the stairs. Go slower, panted Mrs. Salt. Impossible, said Mr. Wonka. We should never get there in time if I did. Get where? asked Veruca Salt. Never you mind, said Mr. Wonka. You just wait and see. And we will read chapter 24, Veruca in the Nut Room, tomorrow. Have a good day, foxes. See you later. Bye.